Alright, let's get into this. I don't think there's English of this stream, so I will have to keep the volume somewhat down so I can still hear game sounds, but... So it's interesting to see Runaway playing what's... It's basically confirmed that it's going to be their last match playing together if they're playing with each other in the future on another team or if they're going to split up, so... They don't really have anything to hide, so... We've seen... So, I don't know what to call this team. T1w, T1... I'll probably just say T1, but we've seen some variations of this. We've seen variations where it's Diva with a Brig, and then the Brig's played by the main tank, or it's the other variation where it's this. It's basically saying, we know you're not going to run Pharah, or we know we just want to play like high disruption. This is what we're going to play. We don't need a lot of tanky bodies. We're just going to play for a lot of sustain. So you play the 3 supports, and then you just try to do like a ton of damage and just X out on one of the tanks. So interesting they're going with this. The Pharah should get a ton of pocket, and she should be able to play like this, where she has like permanent Mercy pocket. This is classic Runaway. Basically, you hide for until the point unlocks, and they all run out together. Such killing people with 1 energy. It's impressive. T1 can wait here. They actually got this res off. It's pretty huge, but they're going to come up from Barrage here, so they need to get Janu down, but then they have a chance to get this Barrage off. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of Matrix left. I think T1 could have played that a little slower and poked a little bit more because they actually had the advantage with heals per while there. Their main tank just all-in a bit too much and was taking swings from the Rhine, where they only had Lucio left there on the point. The Brig and the Ana were both coming back, so they really had a chance to win that. Yeah, Bumper's just playing super aggro. They gotta do a complete reset here, so T1's got to completely reset. Let the Pharah sit back, hit a lot of rockets, or to swap their comp. But they have ults right now, so they can't really swap. But they're at a point right here where they. So if you're on this team, you have to win the first fight technically. So you sack the point, then you look to retake with the Pharah when you have Barrage up. They did that well, but they got staggered to the point where it was even, and then they didn't play that even fight correctly, where it was a 3v3. They could have played it much better. Then they come into the next fight, they get killed quickly. So the problem is, like, you lose the first fight, then you take the staggered fight, and it's not good because they come back at the same pace that you do, and they didn't fight it correctly. So then they got staggered again, then the Ana was able to pick the Mercy out of there. So now they're having to retake into technically even ults, somewhat even ults, and it's going to be really tough for them because they're going to retake, but they're going to have to use a lot to take it, so it can end pretty poorly for them here. Twilight's going to be able to zone them really hard. So you have to be able to get like really good rotations. Twilight dying there is massive. So you see T1 popping a lot of ults, but it's really hard for them to get an effective amount of damage done where they can actually win a fight. I don't know why it's not going back. Oh, there we go. It was just being buggy. So they're zoned here. So this actually ends up working for them. So we saw that the Pharah was poking Twilight over here on the right, and he now has to rotate back here because he wants to be sticking with his team, because if he gets barraged out in the open, then he's not going to be able to get Matrix. He might get cut off. So they actually do a good job of actually forcing him over here, which is good for them. The problem is he keeps getting like moved around. So like the Pharah is then on the right side. She's spamming rockets. He moves into this area where now he's in Doomfist range. So there's actually so many threats from T1, it actually ends up working for them where they can't pick him off. He doesn't actually get the beat, so he gets one shot through that. The problem then comes from the Pharah and the Mercy. So the Mercy popped ult to try to sustain everyone. She gets caught off. Runaway looked to like speed and go super aggressively because they just beated, so they don't have as much sustain right here, but they killed a lot of the damage threat on their team. So there's not going to be much consistent damage coming out from them anymore. From T1 to actually put pressure on them. Like the Forest staying alive is super important there. We can see Runaway's tanks are starting to take damage, but like Janu, he can reset himself. Stitch was, he had like so much armor on him, it was really hard to finish him off. The Far is coming in now, but the rest of his team just got reset. I think the comp is okay for T1, but it has very specific windows on it where you can actually kill people. So you have a lot of damage threat and a lot of sustain in the fight, but you don't have the tankiness really to match what Runaway is ever running. So if they ever get a reset, if they ever get like the armor on all the members, you can't match that because you won't be getting the same sustain because Brig isn't healing multiple tanks. She most of the time is just used as a burst damage threat. So their comp's a bit weird. It's interesting. I'm not sure. It definitely isn't as consistent because there's definitely windows that you can abuse, but if you're outside those windows like they were a lot, they were actually having a lot of staggered fights, and I don't know if it works as well for them. I think if you are an underdog team, though, that is what you have to do. You have to play weird stuff. You can't play standard. I don't know if standard will work for you. My fast forward thing is being really buggy. Oh, now it works. Okay, so it's again, they're playing another non-orthodox comp. This is a little bit more orthodox, but this is super brawl heavy. So your Brig has to be getting help from others, otherwise she's going to be getting soloed alone all the time and she's going to get killed. So Runaway probably is going to like have Stitch focus on her, Slime's going to focus on her, and then the rest of the members really need to kite together and protect Twilight. Okay, they're automatically swapping. If they suspected Runaway was going to not be on Goats, so they prepped a comp for that, that's a bit strange because Runaway's been hard forcing Goats more than like any other team I've seen, so. I don't hate their current comp right now, though. I think it's going to be tough for them, though. This far isn't getting enough spam. The buttons aren't working. I want to go back here. It's not letting me go back. Let's see. It's not working. It's not working where I want to go back. Like, I want to go back and watch, like, small replays, but it's not working, so. Yeah, it's having a tough time doing things. So we'll work through it. I want to see why Twilight walks so far up here. He kind of just gets spammed out by a lot of Sombra damage, I think. I mean, they obviously want to focus down the. This is very aggravating not being able to go back a little bit. They obviously want to focus down this Moira first. That's like obviously their most important thing they should be going for. But being able to walk up against Goats and having them spread out and having your members like one here, one here, one here, or one in the air is super good for having the Mercy being able to bounce between the targets, having the Zen be able to like stand pretty far back, and then having like multiple targets, multiple people like aiming and shooting at the same target from multiple angles. That'll like net a lot more damage than you would normally be able to do. You can see as they walk in, it's actually really good because they have so many people cross-firing from different angles. And then they really split the Runaway's comp up. I think if Runaway would have kited to get like back together, they actually would have lived longer. Because even in this fight where they all got EMP'd, they lived for a decent amount of time. Runaway is one of the best teams at retaking with goats. Usually teams struggle a lot with doing so, but they seem to really understand what they need to do. This Hammond's doing a good job like splitting them up, but Runaway hasn't used anything, and there's no more threat on them with the Pharah being gone. Yeah, Slime Speed didn't get as much effect as it wanted. It was still really impressive how they were able to come into the point and take that. I really wish I could go back. It's not even... Oh, now it worked. Why is it? It's off and on. It's so weird. Okay. They actually got pretty good... Now it's not... I hate this. So they got good effectiveness. Like, being able to run into the point whenever you don't have suit and you're already missing someone... it ended up like working pretty well for them. They get a good grab. Slime's beat gets cancelled though. That's pretty tragic. If he got his beat off here, they actually would have won this fight. Because the Pharah was still trying to come back. Okay, Runaway is playing something really weird now. Bumper is flexing to DPS. Janu... Okay. I thought he was going to use his bomb, but... They're definitely playing to create chaos here, and it's somewhat working for them. It's like even trades, so they're getting room to actually walk out here. It's gonna be hard for them to hold though, once they have this. They don't have any D.Va to like nullify this Pharah. She's gonna be able to do this all day long. There wasn't actually that many members there left for him. If you're T1, you get a full reset here. You can get Janu. You want to walk out with your discords and blast people together. That's kind of what they're doing. Abuse your tankiness and the discords, and they should be able to take space. They got onto the point without using any ults, but they basically forced Runaway to commit. So that worked fine for them, but now they need to have a retake where they're looking to burst Janu, because Janu and Stitch and Hoxa are probably all going to hold close, and the rest of Runaway are going to hold back. Yeah, you can see Janu's holding really close. Oh, they need to protect him. That was stream being laggy. I don't know what that was. Can I go forward? Oh, I can. Okay. Never mind. Okay, T1 lost their backline. So you have to play differently whenever you are playing Somber Tracer, especially against this 3 damage threat that Runaway has. The D.Va basically has to babysit. There's no reason to flank with the Zen, the Mercy, or whatever. You just walk them together with the D.Va. The other 3 members on your team, so the main tank and the 2 other DPS, just look to flank and like make plays together. But when you start to split them up, then you start to get picked apart, and you really don't want that, because Bumper and Slime and Twilight are all going to play together and Runaway. So they need to have the amount of threat that you would have on your side. So it needs to be basically adjacent splits, and then you hope to like win out. With the Zen being alone and then the Mercy being alone is really bad. So now they're in one fight territory and it's very winnable for Runaway. They're swapping the camera so much, it's so hard to tell what's going on. It seems like T1's winning out. I want to go back. So they traded here. They trade the beat. The beat goes on a lot of members. They trade to get the main tank of T1. It doesn't matter too much though, because Runaway losing their beat so early, they use beat. They didn't get as efficient of a nano, so this nano on the ball doesn't become as effective. T1 wins the sustain advantage because the beat's gonna wear off. The Mercy dies here, which is actually pretty bad for him. That res doesn't end up being that effective. But now they have the fat tanky line. So T1 lost their Mercy. But they now have two tanks for the fight, the Tracer and the Sombra. So this is going to mean that they can have a faster, like, more decisive killing squad. You can see here that's why like Hacksaw dies instantly, basically. And they have control of the point, where Runaway had this split where they had the people coming out of main, so they had like the DPS were coming out of main, and then it was like 2 or 3 people were on the point. So they got really far split, and T1 was mostly centralized on the point, so they were able to like get picks out here and then on the point, and then they were able to like reconsolidate inside the point, which really works out for them. Yeah, and Crystal was able to like sit. He was able to sit inside the point basically the whole time and just shoot people without having much threat on him. It was really, really close though. And yeah, it's going to be Runaway with a good map for them. I've seen this before. This is big disruption comp that T1's running. They have to get a very fast wall here and a fast kill. Like, they got to speed someone into a wall, or they have to hack the Rhine. They have to burst him really quickly because Runaway will always win the sustain fights. So they're trying to kite here. They can try to outpace with this EMP. Okay, they got the suit, but they're trading too much for it. It seems like their Rhine went like too over aggro. Like, they don't have as much tankiness and as much sustain. This is really aggravating, not being able to do this. Okay, I have to click on the timeline each time I want to move it. Okay. So they don't have the same sustain. So even if they're getting effective pokes, so like Janu's getting like killed right now by the Sombra, they aren't actually able to punish it as much because their front line, T1's front line, is getting punished more by Runaway. So you see Janu was getting basically focused by the Sombra. But the trade they're making is they put a bunch of poke on the Rhine, so the Rhine had to play very passively, and then the Ana has poke, so the Lucio has to sit with him, so they can't play as aggressively. The Ana is now getting focused. Hacksaw all ins for it. That's actually huge for them because Hacksaw dying doesn't mean as much because they still will have 2 supports. They lose the Ana. They have poke on the Rhine, poke on the Sombra. These members will not get healed as quickly. The Ana falls, the Rhine falls. Runaway basically can play sustained fight now. EMP wears off. They don't have enough sustain to make it in and put enough pressure on Stitch, so Stitch is able to walk up with the nano. They have this poke comp as well, so they can't all in on the point. They have to walk up again with not as much body, so they have to like open in with a hack or a wall or something, and it's gonna be really tough for them. I mean, they like try to open with the Mei ults, but you usually have to get it on a target that's already getting slowed, otherwise they're going to be able to run out. Because like Twilight, I'd say, is in a bad position here, but scuff the wall. They use Shatter, so it looks like people are going to die, but like the beat comes off, they get bubble, and it's only really the Rhine inside the freeze right now. He's able to kite away, and then this is the fight that they don't want. Like, they had to win right there. They had to get an effective wall. They had to isolate someone. They tried. The Rhine got beated for. They will always lose these sustained fights. And then when they're at this point, it's really hard for them to retake because they have to get the poke down again, but for them to win the next fight, they have to get the ults up to be able to contest them. Like, they need to get another Male, another Zarya ult, and they need time to ramp that up, and that's exactly what they don't want because Runaway is gonna, like, be close to capping by the time they have their ults up again. Yeah, it's really tough when you play against Runaway to actually know what the best decision is, because like in this situation, like what do you do? Like you feel like you need to use ults some fights to actually like give yourself like a fighting chance. Like they use the beat and the nano there to try to win out and try to stack the ults, but you're coming into the situation now where you're potentially going to have one or two ults to retake versus Runaway, who's just going to grab you at the door. They're going to hold really close. They're going to punish you. If you have members flanking to go touch the point because you need to, because you can't get in through main, then you're going to lose the front fight. Runaway doesn't care if they don't touch the point. They can just finish off the large amount of people at the front side.
어떻게 대처를 하면 또 완벽한 대응이 될지 그런 부분들을 말씀해 주신다면